Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another super awesome episode of Q Tips. We are the Video Store Junkies, and about every week, except for last week, we took a break. About every week, we give you some recommendations to watch on the weekend. About 6 to 8, you just never know. There's going to be something, a little bit of something for everyone, so you just can't go wrong. So that being said, let's kick it off, and I'm going to pass this over to Bill.
Oh, hi, how you doing? I want to recommend, and this one's on, what is it? Tubi? No, what's this?
Tubi?
Tubo? Well, no, it
There's a
says,
Well, there
Tubi
is
and
a
a
Fubo.
Fubo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, Tubo, Showtime, AMC Plus, and Tubi, and
Hey!
Shudder. Oh my gosh.
Hey!
Okay, this thing's everywhere, which usually is a bad sign, but this is Lucio Fulci's House by the Cemetery. Third in the completely unconnected, but we've forced it to be connected. Kind of, I don't know, Lovecraftian trilogy that we have with the Beyond and City of the Living Dead. And this one, like the best Fulci films, doesn't make a lick of sense. Has not much of a narrative there. Boy, he loves close-ups of eyes. Although this one uniquely does not have any injuries to eyes because I guess he wasn't happy with how the special effects for that scene came out. So it's there, but it's not there. And it's about a family that literally the first shot in the film is a house by a cemetery. Like, yeah, there's a cemetery, we track up and there's a house. So no lies are spoken here. They move in, and but they don't know that there's a zombie, Dr. Freudstein, down in the basement. And this zombie is one of the most messed up zombies. I don't know how actually you could become like this guy. He's kind of mummified skin with I don't know. He's just really messed up. And if you stab him, blood and maggots fall out. And that's pretty much it. The movie takes kind of a long time to establish that there's something going on here. And the payoff is pretty good. The gore, it's just a dream-like nightmare for little kids. Now, Renee, of course, loves the little kids,
Mm-hmm.
and this one has one of those creepy European blonde-haired, blue-eyed Hitler Youth little kids. Just he's been in a lot of films and everything, and he's actually really good in this, but you won't know it because the dubbing is some of the worst dubbing ever. And if you've sat through a lot of Euro horror, you're saying that's a bold statement, Bill. Trust me, this kid's dubbing is so wretched, so terrible, memorably bad. But it's Fulci. I think it's my least favorite of the three. I mean, I love The Beyond, and City of the Living Dead keeps creeping up in my estimation. But House by the Cemetery is still a lot of fun. And Fulci just needs a reevaluation. His stuff is way better than it's often given credit for. So, like I said, this is from 1981. 1981, and it's on a whole bunch of things. Definitely cool to watch. And like with all Fulci films, luckily now we're starting to see good prints. Before, where I think a lot of his reputation was kind of cheap and crappy because the dupes were cheap and crappy. But these, now we're starting to see he was actually a really good craftsman and excellent use of color and mood and lighting. It's not Bava, not Argento, probably for the better, but good stuff. So there you go. And I will throw this right back at Renee.
Well, hello. So I have a movie that, when you hear the title, you're going to think, oh my goodness, what am I in for? And, I know I've recommended some questionable things in the past, but this was actually pretty cute. So the movie of this, the title of this movie is called Bad CGI Sharks. And
Oh my gosh, what am I in for?
yeah, it's available on my favorite Tubi and
Yep.
Vudu and Plex. Yeah, and it is just ridiculous. It's funny. It's about, oh my gosh, some brothers that get back together. They're gonna see, now this, you might relate to this a little bit because they're filmmakers and they're
Okay.
getting back together to make the film that they need to make. It's like that's the thing, they have to make it. So yeah, that is the story. It's actually pretty cute. I liked it. It's called Bad CGI Sharks. So that is my recommendation. And I will pass it over to Paul.
And I'm going to second both of your guys' suggestions.
Ooh.
House by Cemetery, I'm right up there with you, Bill.
Mm,
It's definitely worth watching, but again, of the three, it's probably the lowest one of the three for
mhm.
me, but still worth watching nonetheless. And bad CGI sharks is a hoot. Um, so I definitely want to second both of those. So well, I'm coming to you today with I have a theme, and my theme
Mm.
is
Ooh.
it's spring. Spring is when babies are born, so we're dealing with
Oh God.
babies and pregnancy.
Oh
And
God.
Uh-oh.
and
Ruh-roh.
my first film is Inside from 2007, or in the original French, À l'intérieur. And it's currently
Mm.
playing on Vudu and Freevee. That's Freevee, Freevee. So Inside, it is it's part of what they call the new wave of French horror. It's from 2007. So it's a bit extreme. It's by writers and directors Andre Bustillo and Julien Maury, which I'm sure I didn't really pronounce this correctly. And in it, Alison Paradis plays Sarah, an expectant mother whose husband has recently passed away. And she starts getting stalked by La Femme, the woman, played by Beatrice Dahl. And we're just going to leave it there.
Oh.
Mm.
It's definitely one part of the extreme French new wave of horror, or French new wave of extreme horror. You might want to go to doesthedogdie.com to check your trigger warnings on it, because it'll trigger you. But
Mm.
it's excellent and it's intense. So again, that's Inside, playing on Vudu and Freevee. Now, longtime listeners would expect us to pass this off to Zach. Unfortunately, Zach is not with us tonight, but that's not because he got eaten by bears on his trip. He just needs an extra week off.
Mm.
I think for some more recovery. So he did not get eaten by bears. I just want to state that in case anyone was worrying. So
No
I will
salami
pass.
bears.
No salami bears either. So
Mm.
I will pass this over to Bill Mulligan.
Ah, so Godzilla. Godzilla. Boy,
Yay!
I sure do love Godzilla movies. And there's like three or four, I don't know how you count it, different clusters of this incredibly long running series. And the first cluster, which started with the original Gojira and ended with this next one, Terror of Mechagodzilla from 1975. And this film, I regret to say, is and will probably always remain the lowest grossing Godzilla movie
Hmm.
of all of them. Yes. By this time, Godzilla, which is not as at the time, maybe I think it's different now, but at the time in the 70s, Godzilla was not as big a thing in Japan as he was in America. And Godzilla in
No
Japan
kidding.
was a kids thing. They would release Godzilla movies with like animated Hamtaro cartoons or something. It was strictly, I think they thought of Godzilla the way we think of Gamera, just a goofy little diversion. And it's just now you go there and they recognize that no, this is a huge money making thing. This is like the symbol of Japan, and as symbols go, it's way better than a bald eagle. Well, let's just put that right out there. We screwed that up. Um, anyway, so Terror of Mechagodzilla was an attempt to return to a more adult kind of thing, get away from the Godzilla versus Megalon. Sorry, Jerry Chandler, it's his favorite one. Um, and the silly kind of stuff, and take Mechagodzilla, who's a really cool creation and one who could really put the serious hurt on Godzilla, and bring him back and just do a more adult thing. And in that, it's fairly successful. It is a lot more. It's a lot darker and more serious. It introduces another monster, Titanosaurus, in his one and only appearance. I think he's a really cool design, but they've never used him since. Um, it's about a scientist. There's this old scientist who is drummed out of the scientific community because he had the temerity to declare that there was a dinosaur living in the ocean. And they thought this is the biggest load of foolishness ever, and they threw him out. I'm thinking, this is Japan. A guy announcing there's a dinosaur in the water. If they threw him out, it should be because it'd be like, hey, wow, groundbreaking stuff, Richard Attenborough. What next? There's fish there too. I mean, come on. Yeah, we were destroyed by dinosaurs once a year, sometimes twice. But for some reason, even though in this universe Godzilla exists, the idea of another dinosaur, well, that's crazy talk. So he's kind of bitter about it, and some aliens come along, and use that to kind of influence him, and they, he's able to control Titanosaurus, who has a big tail with a fin on it. If he waves it back and forth, it creates a hurricane. Look, the science in this is a little questionable, but it's a fun movie. I've always liked Mechagodzilla. Godzilla is, totally the hero here, and it's a good send off. It's by the original director, Yoshiro Honda, who did Gojira, and he came back for this one, but it didn't do well. It did really poorly, and that was it for a while until they, again, America was so crazy about Godzilla, they eventually brought back the vastly inferior Godzilla in 1984, brought back Raymond Burr, and that started the next cluster of films that were quite a few good ones in there. And there was another one after that, and I believe there's talk of going back to the well, and Japan may come up with yet a fourth these films are all kind of related, sort of, kind of. Japan is not big on continuity. This movie's supposed to be a direct sequel of the last Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, but the script doesn't seem to remember anything that happened in that last movie. So I don't know. But anyway, Terror of Mechagodzilla, definitely fun. If you thought that the latter Godzilla movies got kind of silly and stupid, I'm right there with you, although I love them. But this one is a good send-off, a well-deserved send-off for our favorite guy. And it's on HBO Max, Roku, Criterion Collection, Tubi, as everything is, Plex. So you have lots of opportunities to see this one. And I will throw this right to Renee.
Well, thank you. That sounds quite interesting. And you're right. Oh my gosh. That would have been a much cooler, country, symbol instead of the bull.
Oh, can you imagine just the mascots and everything,
Oh my god.
Well, I think, isn't it true that Benjamin Franklin had actually proposed Godzilla as the
that is often said, yes.
Because he felt that the eagle was a dirty, nasty
eagles
predator,
steal fish from other birds, whereas Godzilla,
right,
has a sort of grandeur about him.
Right, and so I think he was a big proponent of that, and
yeah.
Did you read that on IMDb trivia?
No, I need to go at it.
Oh yeah, you should. Oh my gosh.
Hamilton shot that idea right down. So. He got a good musical out of it, but frankly, I think his judgment was questionable.
Oh my gosh. So my next pick is a little bit more I guess recent. So it is about a family that moves to a new house in the middle of the country. Why people think this is a good idea, because it really just never works out, right? Like, when does that ever work out? The kids are never happy. People are always miserable. It's not going to work, so stop doing it. Anyway, this movie is called The Cellar, and it is available on Shudder, and apparently also now it's available on AMC Plus. So yeah, so it's got Alicia Cuthbert. I apologize, I never pronounced her name correctly. Probably should have just not done that. Could have just skipped right over it. So it's really kind of interesting. I don't think I'm really giving anything away when I say that their daughter kind of just disappears in the cellar. And so it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of really cool shots, and there's some bits of it that were pretty cool. So yeah, I think, overall it's a pretty good watch. It was pretty entertaining. And I don't, it's one of those things. It's, the house and the missing person. I don't want to say too much. You know how it is. So yeah. But again, this movie is called The Cellar, and it is available on Shudder and AMC Plus. And try to ignore the accents. Yeah, that's my thing. So, with that being said, I'm going to pass this over to Paul.
Why, thank you, Renee. My next pick is, again, we're dealing with pregnancy. This one's interesting because I think it was marketed as horror, and that's what I started watching it thinking it was. And the trailer gave you this feeling that it's this quirky kind of horror film, but really, it's really a drama, and it really gets more into definitely into a drama. It is called Swallow from 2019. It's currently playing on AMC Plus, and it's by writer-director Carlo Mirabella Davis and stars Haley Bennett as Hunter, a young wife whose husband, played by Austin Stowell, he's rich, and he's going to be the new CEO of the company at someday, and she's like kind of like his trophy wife, and she's just very demure and very, it's almost, she's the characters, she starts out at least very uh, not realistic. I mean, that's why I'm saying it
Mhm.
seems kind of this quirky, because she's so demure and so quiet. At first, you're like, is she even going to say anything? Um, but she gets pregnant, and she develops, like a lot of pregnant women do. She develops pica. Pica is the
Oh.
Yeah, pica is the
Mhm.
desire to eat non-food objects. Um, and a lot of pregnant women get this. It's apparently
Really?
pretty common. Yeah. In fact, one of my coworkers had it where she would chew ice incessantly when she was pregnant, and
Mm.
that's one
Well,
example of pica.
I mean, that's
But
just sort of slow drinking.
hey, well, but except it's this desire. Like, some pregnant women will eat dirt
Mm.
or
Mhm.
clay. Um,
That would soak up a lot of poison, so maybe there's an evolutionary
well,
advantage to
well,
Wow,
that.
that's
well,
so interesting.
they do tie it actually to, it's really tied actually to, yeah, nutrition issues, and that's usually how
Mm.
they treat this, by treating nutritional issues.
Hmm.
This young mother to be, though, starts by swallowing a marble, and
Hmm.
she
Mm.
goes from there.
Oh
And
boy.
it did not go where I expected to go at all, because again, I expected it to be a horror thriller, and sometimes some people list it as a thriller. Meh, it really definitely gets more into the drama area. Some of the characters are a little flat, but some of them are a lot more nuanced than you expect eventually too. It gets pretty intense. Again, you may want to check the trigger warnings on this one too, because you'll be triggered.
Mm.
Um, but it was well worth it. And like I said, it was a bit of a surprise to me, because I was like, wow, this is not going where and it definitely didn't go where I expected it to go. And I could see some people getting very upset by it. Um, and it goes beyond just the sort of it's first you have the kind of cringe moments, like when she picks up, like on the poster, she picks up a push pin, and you're like, ah,
Oh
you know.
boy.
But there's a lot more to it, and sort of the reasoning behind it. And in the movie, they mention the nutritional aspect, but with her, it's more of a psychological aspect.
Hmm.
Well worth watching, but again, check those trigger warnings, folks, if you have any
Uh,
sort of
Oh man, another one.
issues. Yeah, yeah, definitely. On this one, I could see some people being very upset at certain aspects of it.
Hmm.
But it's called Swallow, and it's on AMC Plus. And on that happy note, I think we're all done, are we not?
I think we are. Oh, but I
I,
do have a note here that Zach
Oh.
wants everybody to watch Robert.
oh God.
He's
We were
probably
gonna do
getting
like an
Unbelievable.
all Robert, but uh, well, if you, unless either of you guys have a song, I do have a
I
song that's
Oh, that's
appropriate for my
right.
pick.
oh no.
Yeah. So this song, Bill might recognize when I start describing it.
Oh,
It was originally a hit uh, for Paul Anka and Odia Coates. Odia Coates, I
oh
think.
boy.
But I don't really like the Paul Anka version, so I prefer the version that was part of the song "Golden Shower of Hits" "Jerks on 45" by the Circle Jerks, and it goes like
Oh
this:
well.
"You're having my baby, you're a woman in love, and I love what it's doing to ya.
I
You're
love what the
having my
microphone is doing to your singing, which is erase most of it.
a woman in love, and I love what it's going through ya."
And once again, for the weekend of June 10th, 2022, Bill recommended House by the Cemetery, available on Tubi, Shudder, Fubo, AMC Plus, and Showtime, and Terror of Mechazilla, available on HBO Max, Tubi, Pluto, Roku, and Plex. Paul recommended Inside, available on Vudu and Freebie, and Swallow, available on AMC Plus and DirecTV. I recommended Bad CGI Sharks, available on Tubi, Vudu, and Plex, and The Cellar, available on Shudder and AMC Plus.
Yeah, I hurt my throat.
Yeah. Good.
Much like Hunter does.
You hurt my ears and my soul, so it's all even.
In